with the 4th Street Sports Show. I'm Jackson Kennedy. This is Dima Mixon. And we just wrapped up watching day 1 of fall camp. So it was a lot to take in. Obviously, there's a lot of people on the football roster. But, Dima, just kind of give me one of your takeaways. Just how was this practice as a whole? Like, what are your feelings after watching day 1?
Well, I think my number one feeling is that I'm pretty hot right now. It's steaming on this field. But yeah, it's not a full pads day, and Will Hall always talks about how he hates full pads. He actually said it in the press conference that we just had with him. He's like, man, we can get to real football on Friday, which is the first day they can get full pads on. So it is what it is. You're seeing kind of just the shirts, and they ran through some individual drills, which it's kind of like, cool. I mean, it's not a lot to take away. There were some things. Number one thing we need to say is Avery Hobbs was not here this morning, which I'm sure if you're watching this, you already know because we're going to tweet that out immediately. Yes. He wasn't on the field this morning. Coach Hall said he was going through some kind of medical issue that he was not at liberty to say. So that is something that we're definitely going to be watching for this fall camp. I think we saw Holman Edwards, we saw Billy Wiles. I thought personally that Ethan Crawford, we'll get into the quarterbacks on another video, but I thought Ethan Crawford had a good day. Offensive line, I think that's the most offensive line that I've seen in a drill. That's just touts how much depth this team has. So I think it's different in those regards, and it does feel different. There were some points we had some players, we saw some players cramping up. We saw some players needing, that's just day one stuff. I think there was a couple drop passes, couple interceptions, couple good passes, couple good catches. It's just first day of practice.
Yeah, absolutely. And just kind of speaking on that, like, it was just like Holman Edwards said. So if you haven't seen our press conference with him, you should definitely see it. He was just kind of talking about, today he was just scraping the rust off. Because at times Holman, he looked really good at the start. He was completing passes, and then in some of the first team drills that he had, he threw a pick. But then at the end of practice, he got about 9-10 plays, and first play of that 10-play drill was an absolute dart. Just threw it all the way down left side of the field. Brandon Hayes caught it and beat out a defender, and it was electric.
Yeah, Brandon Hayes looks really good. I mean, he tore his ACL voice crack. He tore his ACL last season, I think right in the beginning of the season. And, man, he looked good today. I think both quarterbacks we talked to both mentioned him, and he looked really good today. Made some good catches. Chandler Pittman actually made a one-handed catch that looked a lot like the Jason Brownlee catch that you've seen on Twitter. Receivers looked great. I think that's really encouraging. And I think what's more encouraging about the receivers looking good is that all receivers were getting targeted. It wasn't where when they had Jason Brownlee out here, it wasn't just throwing it to Jason Brownlee. Every wide receiver today, I think, got a target, which I think is good. And I know it's practice and it's different when they go across the road here to the Rock and play in an actual game. But both quarterbacks said that, man, these receivers, man, it's hard to do wrong when you have weapons like they have in that wide receiver room.
Absolutely. And one of the biggest takeaways is these quarterbacks can be confident in their throws, and we talked to Holman and Billy about this. They can be confident in their throws because of how much talent and how much depth is in the running back room. Dima and I were standing by them, watching them practice, and seeing Kenyon Clay up close. If I was a D lineman, I would still be afraid to go up against him. He looked like a beast. Yeah, and Frank Gore Jr., Antavius Lewis, Chandler Pittman, Kenyon Clay, all of these guys, Dreek Clark, all of them just looked incredible. And that's not even mentioning some of these younger guys that really haven't gotten their shot, like Zon Diaz. His footwork was some of the best out of anyone today in drills. And then J.Q. Gray, a true freshman. He probably won't get much, if any, playing time this year. But at his time at Oak Grove, I was able to watch some of his games, and he was electric, Dima. Just elusive. He could be running back, wide receiver, no matter what, he's beating out his guy. And we saw that today in his drills and in the targets that he was receiving. So just a very, very good day overall. And I just want to speak on, the defense. Dima, what can you tell us about this defense?
Yeah, I was fixing to mention it. So it's hard to really gauge the defense because they don't have pads on. So they're not hitting. They're just kind of – that's why really the best thing we saw today from the defense was the secondary, because, the defensive line is going to do that much when they're not even in pads, So, but the secondary, MJ Daniels looked great. He had some terrific pass breakups. And what I thought was pretty nicely placed, a few passes from Holman, Billy, even Zach, and I thought Ethan Crawford, again, had a good day. We're going to have that on another video. But, yeah, the defense looked, I think it's going to be really challenging for both units because you have a good defense like this. Even outside of Avery Hobbs being on the field, they have a good defense out there to throw against these more or less experienced quarterbacks. Because let's face it, these quarterbacks aren't that experienced. None of them on this roster are, outside of maybe Zach Wilkie. So it's good to have that kind of competition. But yeah, so that's about it on the defense.
Yeah. And one more thing, I just wanted to say, obviously this is my first fall camp to be to as a new member of 4th Street, but I just want to speak on how cool it was. There was a scout for the Detroit Lions with a legal pad, and he was writing in it a lot, and he was writing a lot of names. He was talking with Coach L.A., he was talking with coaches, talking with players, and that was something very exciting to see, especially if you're a Southern Miss fan of hey, first day of practice, there's already NFL scouts there. And again, I don't know how normal that is, but it is encouraging to see, Southern Miss kind of growing back to that brand because, Dima and I could show up here next year for fall camp just to peep in, see how things are going. And if Southern Miss has the year that they are capable of having, there could be 5, 6, 10 scouts out there. And there's the talent to do so. We have seen time and time again when these Southern Miss guys are given their chance in the NFL, they shine. I mean, Quez Watkins is incredible, and Jason Brownlee is really showing the Jets he may have more talent and more ability than the guys that they've grabbed in free agency. He has been electric, and just seeing Eric Scott Jr. as well. These guys that had higher round talent but didn't get that higher round exposure that you're used to seeing, they're really proving themselves. And I feel like once that can be established, we might see a lot more scouts out here.
Sure. Yeah, there's scouts out here all the time, but you could definitely see more in the coming years for sure.
And so, Dima, do you have anything else to wrap up just our general reactions? All right, well, make sure to watch our 2 other videos. We will have one video talking about our biggest takeaway, and we have another video talking about we'll be talking about just the quarterback battle, what we've seen from all the quarterbacks, even names you may not recognize. So for Dima Mixon, I'm Jackson Kennedy, and you have just watched the 4th Street Sports Show.